Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, Sean Sway. This video has been a long time in the making. I have been dragging, not wanting to do this video, but this morning I was prompted by God to go ahead and do this video. I was on Instagram, and one of the ladies that I follow by the name of Larissa Nelson, she made this post, and it says, I don't know what's breaking out, but heaven is prompting people to release their testimony, and it is setting people on fire, reigniting their desire to live for the Lord wholeheartedly and building faith. If you feel the urge to share how you've overcome something hard this year, don't hold back. Revelation 12:11. So as I listened to this video, read this post, I was like, Lord, if this is a sign for me to tell my story of what all I've been through this year, God, I just started praying about it. So as I was praying, I did not search the Bible for any scripture. I just politely opened the Bible up. And this is the scripture, the place in the Bible where it landed. And it was on 1 Kings 17, chapter 17. Well, the story in the Bible in 1 Kings talks about Elijah and the widow woman. So just give you a little bit about the story. You guys need to go back and read it for yourself. I'm one that's a firm believer. Read it for yourself. Don't trust anybody else and what they say that the scriptures say. Always read it for yourself. I will put some of it on the screen, but I really want y'all to go back and read it for yourself. So in this story, it talks about, and I'm just paraphrasing. In this story, it talks about how God sent, this time the brook was drying up. So God sent Elijah to go down to the brook. And he said, so once he got there, he's directed a widow woman there to supply you with food. So once he got there, the widow woman came down and he asked her about, he said, this is what the Bible says. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? All right. And verse 17:11 says, as she was going to get it, he called and bring me, please, a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord, your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son that we may eat it and die. So anyway, it goes on, and the story talks about how she asked him to also make her some food, and she agreed to do the food for him as well. So with that being said, she made the food for him, and he told her if she did it that, wouldn't run dry. However, she made the food for him. They ate. And after that, her son died. So the lady goes to him and is like, what y'all do? Now my son is dead. Are you angry with me of all the sins I've done? And, Elijah picked up her son and he held him up and he prayed. He cried out to the Lord. It says, then he stretched in chapter 17, verse 21. Then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times and cried out to the Lord, Lord, my God, let this boy life return to him. The Lord heard Elijah's cry and the boy's life returned to him and he lived. 23 said, Elijah picked up the child and carried him down from the room into the house. He gave him to his mother and said, look, your son is alive. So what God spoke to me in this was, and that's why you guys got the quote that you got, but he spoke to me and he said, he can bring those things that seem dead back to life. Well, earlier this year, I went through this. It's been like a lot this year. My life has changed so much. But I was in nursing school, had been in nursing school for 2 years, was coming up to my graduation. I was supposed to be graduated. I was in nursing school for RN, associate's degree. I was supposed to be graduated May of 2023. During that time, God had been speaking to me about it. And at one time I had failed and had to repeat a couple of times. And I remember standing up in the bathroom. I said to God, oh God, it's taking so long. And I clearly remember hearing God speak to me and say, he is the creator of time. Well, during it, that December-ish, before starting the January semester, one of the teachers told me and another girl, we were both in it at the same time, that we needed to split those classes up But you know how we get. We are in such a hurry. We don't want to split anything up. We want to hurry up and finish. And that's where I was. I wanted to finish. So I didn't want to split them up. And I didn't. But I remember God speaking to me and telling me that He is the creator of time. Well, me splitting those classes up would have caused me to finish in August of 2023 instead of May of 2023. Well, of course, you know how we get. I'm not gonna split it up. You know, when I went through LPN school, I had 3 classes over the summer. I know I could finish with just 2. So my decision, I took, my choice was not to split them. So I didn't. I didn't split them up. I took them both together. Like I said, God had already spoke to me and told me, yes, to create their time. Well, my 204 class, which I had 203 and 204. My 204 class was the one that was just a lot of ATI testing. So you're doing a lot of testing, computer testing. I passed that class. I barely passed it, but I passed it. So I had this one class left. It was 203. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember what my grades were. However, I needed finals. I know I needed like a 70 something to pass final in order to pass the class. Because in nursing in our area, you have to have a 75 or above to be considered a pass. So now here I am. I'm getting ready to go on the finals. Like I said, I don't remember what my own grades were, but I know I needed at least like a 76 or 77, something in that area to pass. I don't even remember what I made on finals. I was so distraught. All I know is when I took that final and that grade came through and it was a fail, that was it. All my hopes, all my dreams, everything died that day to me. Like, going back to nursing school, I already had been paying out of pocket. I had given up a job. I was a school nurse at the time. I had given up my school nursing job to take a job at the nursing home while I was going. I was working every weekend. So now I'm stuck into this job that I'm at. I love my job. I love nursing. I love geriatric. But I'm there and I'm like, this is not what I want to do because it's taken away from me being on the praise team. Singing every day, singing every Sunday was my thing, So I haven't been able to do it in the last 2 years because here I am in school. I quit the job where it enabled me to be able to go to church on Sundays. So I had already given that up. And for me to fail, now I'm still stuck in this job because I'm like, now I'm gonna have to go back and repeat. I had to pay out of pocket, This is 2 years of my last kid's life, now he's a senior. At that time, he was a junior, I wanted to buy a home, Now, I'm stuck in this apartment a little longer. Not saying that I couldn't buy one as an LPN, but because things had already been difficult and had changed so much for me in the last 5 years, had been going through so much. Life has completely been life. And it was like everything was over. My daughter's going to have a baby. Now this is putting me in a standpoint where I've already paid out of pocket. I already, everything just changed, so it was just a lot. And, I had got a job offer, and it was so funny how God does things. I had a job offer at this hospital, which I didn't want to be at no hospital. Did not want to be at a hospital. However, the lady came up to me during one of my clinicals and she was like, I see ICU nurse. Y'all, I'm like, I don't know what. And I did. I looked at my classmates, one on each side, like, what's on my face make her think I want to be an ICU nurse? Clearly, I did not want to work at ICU. I did not want to be at the hospital because my mother, she didn't die at the hospital, but she was in that hospital like a week before her death. And I didn't even want to be at the hospital working, let alone be at the hospital doing clinical, let alone talking about being at the hospital working. And then you want to put me in ICU, where she was some of the time too. So in my mind, it was clearly, no, I'm not doing this. But God has a sense of humor. So after I failed, of course, I had to go back and tell the lady who I had already accepted the job in ICU, where I said I didn't want to be, that I couldn't accept the job offering because I was no longer going to be an RN. And, they don't allow RNs to work in ICU. LPNs to work in ICU in our area. So now I can't even do that. So I'm getting ready to go on this trip. I had, it wasn't really a trip, but I was doing a conference for the health board that I'm currently on. I had to get ready to go on it. So I'm getting ready to leave. And, I'm texting her and I'm talking to my daughter. I'm so upset. And I just upset. I'm like, God, how did you put me in this position? You had all these doors open for me you to shut them all. Like you had already spoken to me about it. You promised me this house you told me I was going to get. Like how, God, financially, I don't even see how. Like, I just didn't see how, but it was just funny how I got to talking to my daughter and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to text this lady and let her know that I did not pass. Now, and I'm saying to myself, I said, I'm going to call her. And if she still wants me, then guess what? This is where God want me at. Then I paused and I told my daughter, I said, nah, I said, I'm going to text her. I said, and if God wants me there, she's going to text me back and she's going to say she wants me. Well, y'all, didn't really want the call, but I received the call and she said that she still want me. Hold on, y'all. Let me turn this TV down a little bit more. Sit down, Bentley. Sorry, y'all. Sit down, Bentley. So, okay, you guys. Hush. Y'all, I know y'all seen him. He is my troublemaker. I love him. Be quiet, Bentley. Hush. Okay. Well, I'm like, okay, I'm going to text her. And, if she wants me, then this is what God has for me. So I did. I text her and I just told her, about it. And I was like, if she wants me, she's going to ask me. If this is what God has for me, she's going to text back and say that she wants me to come work for her, come work at the hospital. And that's exactly what she did. And I'm like, okay, God, you place me at this hospital where I don't want to be. Like I had already said, I didn't really want to do it. But God has a sense of humor. He will place you places that are difficult places, and it's clearly a setup. So I got to the hospital, y'all, and it's a place that I didn't want to be at. Also the place where clinicals are at, where everybody from the school that I currently was in will come up. So this particular uniform color, I didn't want to see it. It was so bad that I used to flip my badge over because I didn't want people to even associate me being an LPN. Not saying that I'm not proud of the degree and what I have, but it was more of, I was sad because this ain't what I'm supposed to be, at least not in my mindset. I'm not supposed to be a LPN. I'm supposed to be an RN, at this time, because I'm supposed to be finished with school. Well, like I said again, what we have dream in our timeline is not God. And he had already spoke to me and told me that he is the, hold on, y'all. Okay. God had already spoke to me and reminded me that he's the creator of time. So it's a friendly reminder that his timing is not our timing. And what we feel like we should be done with something doesn't mean that we're really supposed to be done with it. It's on his timing. However, when I used to go up and I would see people with those color badges, those color uniforms on, I would be saddened because in my mind, that's what I'm supposed to be. Like I'm supposed to be still a LPN. I'm supposed to be RN, because the time that I had put into this school, getting this degree, giving up so much, I didn't want to be no LPN. So I used to flip my badge over. Didn't want to hear the questions of, I thought you was in RN school. Oh, I'm sorry for you. Well, when are you going to go back? Well, what happened? All those questions I didn't want to hear. And I remember doing my orientations and I was sitting beside one of the girls that I was in school with. I remember going by her desk, touching it, telling her how we're going to finish and, God's got us. And to be sitting there and looking at myself and saying, now, I told her God had us. Well, what happened? It didn't stop God from having me. Again, it wasn't his timing. But what really got me was when I went to her, I got built up enough nerve, y'all, to say, congratulations, you made it. And she looked at me and said, but I barely did. I barely passed. I'm like, bruh, but you passed. Here I am, a person who wants to be in your shoes. And then what really got it was she's working in the ICU, the exact one I supposed to be working in. It was like, insult to injury. And then you got a nerve to tell me, but I barely passed. Y'all, it was something real. And I remember holding up these tears, like trying to hold them back and going to the bathroom and crying. I'm like, God, I see how people walk away from you. Not saying that I'm going to walk away from you, but I see. And I know people are probably saying, if you never failed, then you don't get it. If you never failed something or anticipated something or know that God placed you in a place for you to see, at least in your mind, you're thinking this is for you to succeed, that I'm going to prosper in this because you placed me here. And then for you not to make it, that's a whole nother beast. And if you've never been there, you can't really understand where I was. So my mindset was totally different. Like I don't remember ever being in that place. And I remember getting to my car and calling my daughter, and my daughter telling me, Mama, maybe God needs you to be there so you can help somebody else. At that time, I didn't want to hear that, but I know it's the truth. God put us in position sometimes, not just because it's for us, it's for somebody else. He knew that was whole and withstand this. He also knows that there are a lot of girls out there that need to be able to see somebody that has fallen, dust themselves back off, and eventually succeeding in this thing. God ain't done with me yet. I mean, a lot of the stuff he's been talking to me about second chances. But let me finish up this quick story and we'll get back to that. So after that, after I walked out of the bathroom, I dried up my tears and stuff, and I started working. Well, remember I told y'all I used to keep my badge flipped because I didn't want nobody to see my badge. I didn't want nobody to know I was an LPN. I remember leaving work one day crying, God, I don't want to feel this sad, and I don't want to feel like this. And it was like almost instantly God wiped up my tears. I wasn't really instantly, but it felt instantly. It was like maybe a week later, I realized I'm not crying about it anymore. Because almost every day I would leave work when I see those girls in those particular uniforms or that school come in, holding back tears. Or when I went down to the ICU and I see some of the people that were in my class down there, I remember getting on the elevator, riding back up to my hall, holding back tears or drying up tears, because sometimes you can't hold them back, they just go. And I remember crying about it. So when I got up to my floor, I didn't tell anybody, that I was crying in the elevator because I was down there with some of my ex-classmates. And it's just being in a difficult spot. I mean, I was so sad. And me being a jolly, happy person, I didn't want to feel that way. So crying, going home from work a lot, talking to my daughter, pleading with God, take this sadness and this pain away. And one day it was gone. Well, I've been working down there about 6 months. So that August came, well, before that 6 months, because that was in May. I started working there in June. So August came along and I applied for another nursing school. I'm like, I'm going to go back to nursing school. This one is a year. I'm going to go there. This is where I want to be, yada, yada. Well, life was life, and I was working a lot because now I'm trying to make up some of this money that I had spent in nursing school because I was paying out of pocket for 2 years, had a little assistant, but I mean, I didn't have that kind of assistant. I was paying out of pocket. So trying to make some of this money back and enjoy life just a little. Because, if you're in nursing school, you don't really get to enjoy life like that. I had devoted everything into this school. And I had devoted a lot, everything that I had into this school, mentally, emotionally, financially. I had devoted it into school. And yeah. Yeah. So that August came up, I was getting ready to apply for another school, and I needed to prepare for the TEAS test. But y'all, look, I graduated in 96. And right. Okay. So studying, and had about a month to prepare for it. Remember, I'm working a lot now, and I remember God speaking to me and telling me about preparing. So that's, I think, when I did that quote, when I was telling you guys about preparation, preparing for things. So I started supposedly preparing for the TEAS test. I wasn't really concerned. It was like, it's whatever. I paid twice for it. I didn't really care what I made, because deep in my heart, I was like, I'm not going back to school now. Forget it. I'm going to let my son graduate, and then I'll go back, in about a year. Give me some time to enjoy life, be free, take a couple of trips, do things that I ain't, wanted to do, just kind of enjoy. So I didn't really prepare, wasn't really worried about it, because I was determined I wasn't worried about school. Well, the job of what I worked at was starting this college. It was going to be supposedly, so the first school, let me finish that off. The school that I was applying for, that was going to be 1 year, I didn't prepare for it. Y'all, let me tell you how much I did not apply for it. I ain't even turned the application in. I did nothing. I took those 2 TEAS tests, and I was like, forget it. I don't really want to go. So that was enough for me. I continued to work, and then it got to the point where I would see the people in those scrubs. It didn't bother me. And then I actually flipped my badge over, proud to be an LPN, because you know what? I worked on the side by these RNs. There are certain things we can't do as an LPN, but at this hospital where I work, I'm able to give blood. Like, I literally gave blood twice last week before last. I'm giving blood. I mean, the pay is not the same, but the knowledge that I'm gaining, is like amazing. Not just that, working there versus working at the nursing home where I love. God has put me to the thing where I don't really care for it no more, Like I like my job, but it ain't that serious no more like it used to be. But it's like working there, the knowledge that I've gained, it's worth any amount of money that I may make at the nursing home. Like I love my job. The very place that I ain't want to be, I now love. So it's like, God, I thank you for it. And the lady who saw in me, the ICU, the one that told me ICU nurse, like I'm grateful for her too, because I would have never came down there and worked. Like it was a setup. So I work on med surg at the hospital and I love it. Out of the complete 10 years that I've been at LPN, I ain't never want to work at a hospital. But it's funny, all the places that I said I ain't never want to work, God has always placed me. Number one, when I first got out of nursing school in 2013, all I wanted to do was nursing home. I wanted to do nursing home and I wanted to do Alzheimer's unit where I've been working like forever, as a CNA, because I was a CNA first for biochemist and LPN. So I had been working at the Alzheimer's unit forever. And I ain't never want to work nowhere else but the Alzheimer's unit. Well, I needed when I got hired at the nursing home as an LPN, I was on 3 to 11. I had kids at home. They were small 10 years ago. I didn't need that shift. I needed a shift that was a daytime shift. And I remember meeting a lady. As a matter of fact, went to the doctor that day and I was telling her, I need a day shift, whatever. So how about I had applied to work at this doctor's office months ahead, like months even before I finished LPN school. And I ended up getting hired. They called me that October. I won't forget it. I remember doing my interview on Halloween and I got hired at the hospital. At the doctor's office where I didn't want to be. Okay, worked at the doctor's office, met this lady who was the nurse practitioner there, who has been amazing. She has been this, like I said, my mother's deceased. She died when I was 12, but she has been this big part of my life. Okay, well, working with her landed me at the school. Somewhere I ain't want to be. I remember telling my daughter, you and God got jokes. Y'all trying to send me to jail with your children. Their attitude, loved it. Okay. And like now working at the hospital, didn't want to be, love it. And it's just amazing how God has a sense of humor. He places you in those places that you think you don't want to be in and you end up loving them, like love it. So anywho, nevertheless, this job that I'm working on now is opening up a nursing school, and it's going to be hospital based. Well, okay, now I'm getting a little excited. So I decided to apply. Matter of fact, they sent this stuff out. It took me over a month, y'all, to get the rest of the stuff in because I'm dragging my feet. So now it's coming up to the finish line, like to the deadline, I mean. So now it's at the deadline. I got to turn all this stuff in, so I turn it in. But guess what? Your girl gets the interview. So I'm getting the interview with the dean. I meet with the dean and I leave and I'm feeling different. I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I've learned a lot at the hospital now. Like stuff is connecting the dots because at one time I felt like maybe it wasn't connecting the dots for me with school, but things are connecting the dots. I'm seeing stuff that I never saw at the nursing home or the school or the doctor's office, like working with heart calves, being able to give blood, pushing different medicines, setting up IVs. Like we do IVs at the nursing home, but not like that, but doing in and out calves and then the team that I have, oh my God, I love the nursing crew that I have that I work with. They're amazing too. So just all of it has been a godsend. But I applied for the school. I interviewed with the dean and y'all, when I tell you God will spin the block, he will spin the block. And those things that we thought were dead, God can bring back to life. Your girl started nursing school in January. Ow. I know it ain't nobody but God. Like, I said all this and I'm telling y'all my story because I really want you guys to know that those things that we think are dead, God can resurrect them and bring them back to life. Don't give up on your dreams, you guys. Don't give up on what God has clearly put in you, a place in your heart, a place of desire for you to become or to do. No, God is not. He hears our cries. If it's in his will, baby, he'll make them happen. Just trust and believe and know that God, he's a way maker. He's a person that brings things back to life. Like he literally This video I was supposed to bend it, but y'all, I dragged my feet on doing them. But I do want you to know, in a couple of years, it's gonna take me 2 years, but remember, God already told me He is the creator of time. I'm gonna take my time, and this time I'm gonna be successful because I know this is where God wants me at. Don't give up on your dreams, and remember those things that have been so called said to be dead in man's eyes. They ain't dead in the Lord's. So y'all, I guess that's the end of this video. I just want to tell you guys, just don't give up on God. You know, that song says, don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. He's able. Don't give up on God, because He is truly able. You know, He is able. And those things that seem dead, God can resurrect. Well, with that being said, that's the end of this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if it's for someone else needs to hear it. So y'all, until next time, remember, true beauty comes from the inside out. Bye.